Welcome. You are with the Skeinz Diaries. It is Thursday, the 5th of October. I am Marie, and welcome along episode 282. And as you can see, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, hot off the courier. Hot off the courier this morning from the wonderful Delene. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? Utterly stunning. If you're looking at that thinking, wow, Zers, what is that? What is that? That is the Solomon poncho. I mentioned it the other day. There it is there. The Solomon poncho by the very, very clever Cheryl Beckerich from Wise Owl Knits, available now and designed and knitted in Southlanders. So she did hers in oatmeal. We thought we would do ours in Highlander Heathers in the Rosewell because I didn't have anything knitted in the beautiful Rosewell. And in person, this is drop dead gorgeous. Like drop dead gorgeous, because you get all the beautiful little heathered movements of color. It is so utterly glorious. This will be going out into the shop. And of course, it's all about ponchos this month, as you know. We've got the poncho knit along, and I'm going to dive into that shortly. But I needed to show this to you because Delene, as always, has done an incredible job. As Delene did say, she said when she was sending me progress, she said it's not exactly TV knitting, this one, obviously, because you've got all the cable and travelling stitches. But if you're somebody that loves a little bit of Aran work and you're looking for a design that is so breathtakingly stunning that you can actually do. I mean, this is the design that you would do with an audiobook and a podcast. Absolutely dollars to donuts. It'd be brilliant for it. It's just stunning, really beautiful. And yeah, you've outdone yourself this time, Del. It's wonderful, really wonderful. So that's going in the shop as soon as we're done here. I'm going to pop it out in the shop for everyone to have a look at. This is done in the Rosewell. We've got a new colour coming, and it's going to be called York, and it is the most beautiful, soft, wispy sort of. If this is kind of lilac-y lavender, York is very wispy, sort of sagey, light heather. It's just so beautiful. So beautiful. And that is imminent. It's coming very, very soon. And I also approved some what we call blends up of two new colours coming in Highlander Heathers, both very, very pale shades. Can't wait for those either. So it's really exciting. So that again, Solomon Poncho, that's it there. Solomon Poncho, Wise Owl Knits. It is available in Ravelry. I suggest you go directly to the Wise Owl site though. To purchase that one, and that of course is by the wonderful Cheryl Beckerich, who I've had here on the show before. I love Cheryl, she's amazing. Right, as you can see, someone has noticed. Yes, there we go. I finished. The love note is finished. I was going hammer and tongs to get this done because I wanted to get it finished for you today, but I also wanted to start the knit along, the Ratio Poncho knit along. So it's amazing. The thing about this pattern, and obviously now this is my third one, is the one thing I can tell you is once you get past essentially the yoke portion here and you start doing in the body, it goes really, really fast. It is a really fast knit. So honestly, this is about 50% point once you get to here. It really is quick after that because it's then just straight stocking stitch and essentially just decreasing. The other thing that's really quick about these, because of course they're what I've got undone with this, so just backtrack. Actually, I think I might even have the yarn. Oh, I do. Look, I do. And Nola, good news, Nola, because Nola, bless her heart, was my final friend. Nola had a look, Nola, I managed to make it. So I have got your skein of this that I can give back to you. She was my final friend because I didn't know whether I'd have enough. And Nola's like, oh, I think I've got some of that in my stash. And she dropped it into me. And so I had it sitting there just in case. I thought it's going to kill me if I have to wind it on just to do the neckline. But I didn't. I boogled it. And two things I did differently from the previous ones. So the very, very first one, and actually I went back and had a look at the very first one. The very first one I knitted in DK only, which they give you an option for. And I did actually do it to pattern. I thought I'd modified it, but I went back over my notes and I hadn't modified it. So go me. So I hadn't modified that, which is good. And I love it. It's the Spanish Bay and Cove. I adore it. I thrash it. The downside, of course, is that it's at that very loose gauge on a 14 sort of stitch gauge on that 6 millimeter needle, but in a DK. So if you walk past anything and catch it, it pulls like buggery. I can't tell you how many times I've had to, go back and reconstitute stitches. And of course, it will pill because there's not a lot holding those fibers together. Now, pilling doesn't bother me. I have a buzz and I am quite happy to use my buzz and depill everything. I've just got a little battery operated one, or sometimes if I'm doing a whole heap, I'll bring the fabric shaver from here home, the electric one. So yes, so I thrashed that, but the gauge I just felt was a bit sloppy, and as I recommended to people, pull it back. If you're just going to do DK, 5 millimeter needle, there's so much ease in that you could get away with it. So love note number 2, which I did at the beginning of this year, that was the Stornoway in the Highlander Heathers. And I dropped the needle sizes back. So I used, instead of 6 millimeter needle and 4.5, I used 5 millimeter needle and 4 millimeter needle. But I didn't change the size. I still did the 3XL size. So it's not the biggest size. It's this one back from the biggest. So I think it's 3XL. I did that size. Yes, because I think the largest is 4 to 5XL. And I knew I was going to lose ease, but it was already so much ease that I thought, well, I could probably get away with losing the ease. And I could. And I thrashed that. And I didn't make any. So my modification with that was obviously a tension and gauge modification. So that's how I modified that one. And the reduction in ease, personally, I felt was more flattering than the bigger one. So when I came to knit this one, I made the decision actually to drop down a size, which usually goes against my rationale, but I've decided to drop down a size. And I'm actually going to stand up, because you've got to remember, I am the size of the back of a bus. So this one is completely done as written, using 4-ply and fine mohair together. This is a limited edition that we did in 2019 for Knit August Nights with Stephen B. So I had this in stash. This is our 4-ply, but hand dyed by the incredible Sue Goodley from Sue's Hand Dyed Yarns, our local Hawke's Bay designer based in Mahia. So just move that aside. Oh, there you go. So that's it there. As you can see, I did modify the sleeve length. So because I like that sort of what I call 3/4 cuff length. That's a decision for me. You have the option to do that. But as you can see, smaller size, written to pattern, still plenty of ease. It's not clinging onto the sticky bits. So that's what I worry about. Don't like the sticky bits. It's not clinging onto the sticky bits. I am as happy as a clam, I tell you. Happy as a clam about that. And it was perfect because it was so cold here this morning. It was about 6 degrees this morning. So, and it's our office is quite cold, so I'll wear this most of the day and shed it, and then I'll probably need to put it on. Yeah, I know, it was good. And Delene was just saying she got to the end of the yoke and did an increase to get her the next size up, so then that way this section is good, and then you can do, and yeah, well, this is just it. I mean, to be honest, you only really need to keep your numbers exact for this lace section here, because obviously the lace won't work otherwise. So this is where you need to be accurate. You've got latitude here, and I have to say this XL size for shoulder is much better fit up here, and you've got latitude down here, and ultimately it's a 1-on-1 rib. So as long as you've got a multiple by of 2 when you get to the ribby parts, it really doesn't matter, does it? It will work. So there you go, done, dusted, finished. Yay. And it's a fast knit. I love the fact that it's a fast knit. So I'm quite proud of myself to get that knocked out, considering how, because I cast this on. Oh, so yeah, so this has taken me about a month to do, and I'm not getting as much knitting time as I usually would. So I'm actually quite pleased about that. But it's all about Ratio Poncho. Ta-da! And of course, typical. I've already, there was slight errata in there when I went and did the grading. You may have seen that I popped a little note up about that. And one little thing, there was a question that popped up between rows 3 and 4. We've row 4 is actually written to the wrap and turn, and row 5 is just coming back on the other side of the wrap and turn. Some people, just so you're aware of that, but in case you're getting to it going, that's what that is. It's been great to see everybody's ponchos, the beginnings of, and the colours, and seeing what people are doing and using. And it's really exciting. I have been showing you, where I was at. So I have the Stephen B, which is essentially the DK version of that mohair, because they came out in a tandem back in 2019. So I had that. I had this number, which I can't even remember what the composition was. I've got a feeling it's either merino silk or merino tencel. It's one or the other. It was a sample we did a million years ago. And I want to say it's a DK, but actually now that I've started working with it, I've got a funny feeling this actually could be a 10 ply. But here's the beautiful thing about this poncho. It doesn't matter. I've knitted these ponchos on anything from sort of DK-ish yarns all the way through to bulky weight yarns and everything in between. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. We're knitting it. You could even go up to chunky, to be brutally honest, because we're knitting it on a 6mm needle, roughly around a 14 stitch tension. So you got tons of latitude in there. So this was going to be probably one of my mainish colours, because I had a lot of this. Have a couple of those. Then I had these left over, because I'm all about using the leftovers. Come here. So I had these two left over from Shoji. So I thought, well, that's all peas and carrots, isn't it? As Forrest Gump would say. So that was all good, but I just wanted something a little bit more to break it up. So I did have a few other ideas, but then I had these two, and you may remember these. One of these was these came out, these were a couple of dips that we had. So these is just, I often keep a single ball of these dips just as a color reference, and they were sitting there. So this one I think was it was something like Australis or Borealis or Aurora, or it was in that zone. Andromeda, it was one of them, because we did full ply and DK versions of playing around with that one. And then this one I think was called Safe Harbor. And they, as you can see, very, very similar, sort of same tonally. But of course, they work in beautifully with this. So my poncho is sort of, there is some difference there, but it is quite tonal. And as you can see, I'm obviously feeling rather turquoisey oceanic at the moment, because I'm doing a lot in this color space. It's because I like to blend into the wall. That's what it is. So that's what it is. So that's what I chose. And then, of course, it's like, what do I do in terms of how do I divide it up? Because obviously the poncho here is written up for contrasts that are all stripy all the way through. But of course, it does not need to be that way. The very first one I knitted, which was this one here, of course, had a big plain section. I only did the striping across the bottom, and then went plain from the neckline to the rest. So, you really, and that's an Albertine. So the world is your oyster on this. So here we go. That is my progress so far. So I've done a mixture of all three, and I've divided. There you go. See, it looks kind of good. And with the Stephen B is the one that gives you that sort of blotchy, sort of sort of little interrupted sort of parts of color there, which I actually think once you pull this up to a fuller amount will look kind of cool. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. So I'm dividing this in between a double stripe here at the end and a single stripe. But I am going to be doing it in sort of an order. Whether or not I go all the way along, I haven't decided yet. I'll get to roughly where the neckline needs to be, and then I'll make a decision. But to be honest, I probably will. I've got enough yarn, I think, to do it this all the way through. Now, one of the things that, and as you can see, I've got those there, and I left those out to show you. I tend not to carry the yarns up, particularly when I'm working with this many. And I know some of you will be sitting there going, because you're thinking of the same, but this is why I've done this. I started doing that, as you can see there. And it was like, ugh, no, I'm going to go back to my usual. And so that's that side there. And what I do is I thread them in as I go. So as you can see there, see how they're all woven in? My system for this is I usually corkscrew around about 6 stitches, 5 stitches, 6 stitches, turn and come back the other way. And if you do it constantly all the way across, it just, what it does is visually it actually gives you on this side, it actually makes this fabric here quite dense because there's stuff in behind it. Now this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And the reason it's a good thing is because obviously a portion of this is going to be seamed. So when you go to mattress stitch this, which you can still do because you can still see your stitches down there, and this gets mattress stitched together, and that's going across your shoulder here, it actually makes it quite reinforced and quite strong, and it actually gives you a nice firm seam. So if you've got a lot of colours and you are having to weave it in and you think, it does actually do that. How does it sit on you? Oh, you mean the poncho, Maureen? The best one to do it is the one that's just been finished because that's the correct sizing, which is out in the shop. Maureen, if you jump onto the last video that I did, I actually tried on there and you can see how it sits, but it sits really well and it sits straight. It's slightly asymmetrical. It's not completely symmetrical in the front. It's slightly asymmetrical off to one side. I can put that first one on, but the problem with that one is the sizing is slightly different. The Fate one, which is out in the shop, is the sizing that we finalized on, but it does finish. The biggest size does actually finish. Oh, stay. It sort of sits across here because that one goes nearly down to my knees. It's quite long, but it does sort of finish around here and sort of sits slightly asymmetrical off to the side. So if you jump into that previous video, I do try that Fate one on and show you. So I think that one I did on, not the last one, it might have been the one before the Monday. It was a couple of videos ago anyway. I did put it on once it arrived to show you how it looked. Cool. Oh, no, the one you'll knit. How does it sit on your body? This. Oh, okay, I see. I see where you're going with that now. Okay, so this is this portion, the garter portion, is at the bottom, so it will probably go this way because it's the garter portion's at the bottom, and this, of course, is the back. So it sits across that way. It's in reverse because this is the back. So you go, if you're doing, because I wear it the short side on my right, so I'm knitting back to front. But the stripes run diagonally across here. I'll show you that way. See? Right. So, yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy. So then, just to show you, as you can see, the solid stripe, which is the blue one there, but it's got a little bit of texture to it, just sort of all melts in. And because of the blue, that it picks up the blue that's in the Stephen B. But I'm just, it's chugging along quite nicely. And then, of course, over here, you get that transition between one and the other. So I'm quite pleased about that. I knocked I knocked these few rows out uh, yesterday. Yeah, yesterday before, so I could bring them in to show you today. So I'm pretty happy. And I'm loving, I popped out in the newsletter, I am loving everybody's progress so far. It looks great. It's not too late. This is a really, really fast knit. When I knit, I got a couple of weeks out from Knit August Nights, and I cast on these because I always knit something for Knit August Nights, and I was so behind. You can comfortably, if you're somebody that gets a decent amount of knitting time in your week, you could easily knit this poncho in a couple of weeks, easy. In fact, I think Delene, you knocked that out in 5 days. So it's not a tedious, long, slow knit at all. This one takes quite a bit more work. The Ratio Poncho is not designed to be that way. It's designed to be relaxed and easygoing and something that you can do while watching the telly or watching the kids at cricket or sport or whatever it may be. It's designed to be really, really straight. A really, really straightforward system. So it's good. It is really, really good. And that system on the edges does make a difference. I haven't, I always do it out of habit, so it's a habit thing for me, but it does give you that nice firm border, and I just find that I'm trying to think when I started, I'm trying to think what project that I did where I did that. And I remember saying to you guys, weave your ends in as you go. Trust me, you'll thank me for this. And I can't even remember what project. I'm looking out in the shop now trying to. I know. No, because I did that. Yeah, but I did Miss Jane. That was stripy. Yeah, I've always been a weave in your ends as you go kind of girl, which I know seems kind of antithesis for me, but I have been. It's funny, isn't it? The little things that you do that's one of my little OCD obsessions is I do have so I have a tendency to sort of get about that far, and then I'll weave in, and then I'll get, a couple of inches. Every couple of inches, I'll just do a weave in and get everything in there. It's just a me thing. I've always done it. And actually, when you go to pick up the stitches around the neckline too, by having those, if you do stripe along there, it just gives you a nice sort of reinforcing. It does make a difference. It really does make a difference. I'm trying to think what I did that was stripy, that I did that weavy in as you go. No, it's gone. I knit so much. I can never remember. I know, shocking, right? So that's where I'm at. Now, there is the Rosewell, which is what we did this in, but this would also make a fantastic poncho. And what I did grab was the Fate. There's the Fate Merino. So you'll be proud of me. Okay, that's what I've just come back now. You'll be proud of me. I have now put this into Ravelry this morning. So it's in Ravelry now. So if you can't find the link to download it off a newsletter, you can search in Ravelry and it's there and it's free and you can download it. And tell anyone that wants one, it's there. So I've done that. The other job I'm doing today, because I've had people asking me, I am going through and updating our Ravelry database for our yarns. Yes, I know I am the worst in the world at doing that, and that's what I'll be doing today. So I'm going through, I've got about 6 to go in there, like this isn't in there, and Highlander Heathers isn't in there, Eros isn't in there, Fate is in there now because I've just done it this morning. There's a whole heap. So a lot of the limited edition ones I don't put in. So, they tend to be self-contributing ones. I just don't bother if they're small single batch. But this is definitely in there. Eros is going in today. What else is going in today? Eros is going in. Soho's going in. Highland is going in. Fantasy's going in. I'll tidy up other little bits and bobs that's there. So yeah, I'm just being a bit more. It's one of those round to it jobs. Spring cleaning, digital spring cleaning. That's what I'm doing today. So I'm getting all that done on Ravelry. The Fate, before the Ratio Poncho, since we did our sample in this has now got $2 a ball off. It is divine. Now, if the poncho isn't your jam and you don't feel like doing it, but you've got another project that you want to do on the go and it needs a DK, this is the most buttery merino. It is divine. It's not shrink treated, and that is very deliberate. Okay, so it's very deliberate. We have not treated this for machine washability because the problem Merino, most people do merino shrink treated, and it takes away that beautiful bounce and butteriness that you get with merino, which I think is the best bit. It's like the fat on the lamb chop. It's the best bit. So we haven't taken that out, and we've kept it in there, and it is amazing. It is so beautiful to knit with. It feels incredible. That poncho in Fate, amazing. Our ratio poncho in this, amazing. If you wanted to do a beautiful sweater or cardigan in this, amazing. If you are in Wardrobe Toolbox, you'll see a certain Southlander shawl that has just been released. If Southlander, if you're somebody that just doesn't like to wear Southlander next to your skin, I get it, but you love that design, we've got the natural cream of this would be perfect for that design. If you're in Toolbox, you know what I'm talking about, and it would be amazing. So $2 off a ball for this. It's $6.50 for premium New Zealand merino. That's an incredible price. It really is beautiful. So one of the things I thought is if you were wanting to do for example, one of these, even one of these, you could actually do it in the DK, but add the Whisper Fine to it as well. And that would give you a denser love note because, again, it's on that 6mm needle, so it will be fine. But you could also do a ratio poncho in this. If you wanted a poncho that had a little bit more drape and movement to it, in single color, you can actually we do have a selection of all these Whisper Fine yarns do have a solid buddy within our different ranges. So this one goes with that Fate. We've got a number of them that go with Snug. So for example, this one here goes with the Provence and the Whisper Fine. They will all have buddies. They've all got a little buddy around the place. That and the ratio poncho, where you actually do the double garter section in the solid and then just the single sections with the Whisper Fine in between, will give you that lovely sort of almost corrugated effect. And that poncho will light it up, will give you a little bit of light fuzz and that whole kind of what I call the Elton effect. So you'll get this lovely equal striping across the stocking stitch section across the two, and then across the heavier part they'll be heavier together and they'll look amazing. Excuse me. So that's something you could play around with. I think that would be fun, and it will give you that change in texture. Or you could do the whole thing in one color and put those two together. So you could even do it for a thicker, richer poncho. You could do both of those together, and that will give you a really lovely, lush, dense fabric. Or you could do this with its four-ply compatriot or a sport weight compatriot and do the same thing. So you can have a lot of fun with it. Don't be afraid to have a lot of fun with it. And remember, there are prizes. So the prizes are best innovative use of colour, best innovative use of texture, and best innovative use of stash and or skeins yarns. There you go. Easy peasy, just like that. Right, get yourself cast on. Get the pattern downloaded. Make sure you're in the speakeasy because that's where all the fun is to be had. And enjoy. Have a good weekend. Have a good knittery weekend. And I'll be back here on Monday. And I'll hopefully have more progress to show you. That would be good, wouldn't it? All right, until then, take care. I'll see you next week.